You know this blog thing has advantages when someone gives you a Ferrari. Ferrari! On the next episode of Stay Rad Wine Blog TV. Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Welcome to another episode of Stay Rad Wine Blog TV. You know, this morning when I woke up in Gilroy, California, my beautiful new home, it was 28 degrees Fahrenheit outside. Kind of cold. I was seeing online that different friends in different parts of the country, they were also complaining about how cold it was. My buddy Jeff Eccles of The Lonely Vine, and maybe I'll link you up below, Jeff, I don't know. He was saying that in his town in Colorado, it was 1 degree outside, and he was talking about, what wines do you want to drink when it's cold? Here I am doing the exact opposite thing. I'm thinking, what wines would I not want to drink when it's cold? I don't know why I'm gravitating right now to a sparkling wine right now that is cold, and it's still cold outside. I don't know why I'm doing this. I just feel like I must, right? So I decided to break open one of my samples. This is from Gregory White PR. They're the ones that sent this sample to me. This is the Ferrari Rosé. This is a sparkling wine. It is not from France. It is not from the United States. It is from the Trento DOC of Italy. So we're talking about northern Italy. We're talking about a place that is using, champagne grapes. They use Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, and I would assume maybe they've got some Pinot Meunier going on as well. They grow these champagne grapes at high altitudes in northern Italy, and they have become what some would say, what they say, is the premier luxury molto classico wine. So I mean, what the traditional champagne method of sparkling wine that you would find in Italy. These are the guys that you should go to. Apparently, I have had other of their wines in the past. I did have just their entry-level Brut. I was sharing that with my buddy Dave the Vegetarian a couple weeks back. Remember when you were over for the Niner game and we broke open that sparkling wine? So we had that Italian sparkling wine before, and that was that Brut was 100% Chardonnay, and it was very lemony and citrusy and yeasty and very nice. This one, they're stepping it up a little bit with this rosé. We're looking at 60% Pinot Noir, or Pinot Nero as they would say in Italy, and 40% Chardonnay. The Pinot Noir is grown specifically to be used in their rosé, so I believe they treat these grapes a little bit differently than you normally would when you're talking about growing Pinot Noir. And if we're thinking about grapes for champagne use, we're thinking about, a really nice high acidity that we're dealing with. Enough of me yapping. Let me open this guy up and we'll talk about it. And as with many sparkling wines on this show, let me open it up in front of you because you never know. Hilarity could ensue. How are you guys doing today? Good? All right. So first thing I'm doing is I'm taking off the capsule here. I'm getting that foil back. The next thing I would want to do, and you don't have to take off all the foil. Next thing I would want to do is when focusing on the cage, I always make sure my hand's on top of the cage as soon as I start twisting this thing. So we're going to loosen up that cage, but I'm going to keep the cage on. This sparkling wine is kept really, really cold. If your sparkling wine is warm, you got to be very careful when you open it because there's going to be a whole lot more pressure. I mean, that gas is going to expand, right, inside of that bottle. And so I'd be a lot more afraid of this cork flying out. And you want to be very careful when you open these. Very careful, right? I'm going to use that cage as a grip And as I slowly twist this bottle, I'm not trying to get this thing to fly across the room. I'm not trying to make a dramatic pop. Really, it's going to be like a nice little, just quick fizz, like psst. That's what we're looking for. Here we go. It's coming. Like that. You know what I mean? Nothing overly dramatic. And in pouring it this time, you know, last time I did sparkling on this show, Rhea, who I went to high school with, hi Rhea, she was asking about, I'm sorry, that's a poorly poured pour. She was asking about different wine glasses with sparkling wine. She was asking why I was using a regular wine glass instead of one of these guys right here. And honestly, there is going to be a difference in the way that you interpret the nose and the way that you even interpret the taste of these things based on that glass. So I thought it would be fun to kind of play around with it. You know, as far as picking one over the other, I've heard arguments in both ways. And I really just enjoy seeing how wine can be different when we do taste it out of different vessels. So, you know, let's dive in and see what's happening. I mean, color-wise, it's the same. I guess if we have this wider glass and the colors kind of spread out over a greater area, you know, it looks a little bit lighter in here. It's a little bit more copper in this one, but again, it's the exact same wine. So, I mean, even visually, it's going to look different. I guess when we're dealing with the champagne flute, maybe you think of it being a little bit more celebratory in that sense. Now, as far as the bubbles, I am noticing, you know, the bubbles are a lot more concentrated in that flute, so I'm seeing a lot more of them at once. They're very spread out in this bad boy right here, but the bubbles themselves are very consistent in what I see. Really nice, fine bubbles, really tiny bubbles that are coming up from the middle. Well, I'll tell you what, they're a little bit more fine in this one, and they seem to have just a slightly larger diameter in the flute right here. And so maybe we are dealing with, you know, the etchings of the glass, allowing the gas to form those bubbles up against it, and maybe in terms of the shape of that glass, we are getting just slightly larger bubbles in this bad boy right here. Now, on the nose, this is where we should expect some differences, right? On that nose, I'm getting strawberry, I'm getting lemon, I'm getting like a little like custardy paste. It's weird, I say custardy pastry-y, but it's like there's some custard, there's also some pastry there. There's some toastiness on the nose. I don't want that to be mistaken with like an oaky toastiness. It's not that. It's there's a general warmth of baked goods. That's what I'm getting, with a little custard too. Think of like a home run pie. There you go. It's like a home run pie. But yeah, mainly that strawberry and that lemon stuff, and actually the toastiness, that baked good is actually starting to go away, starting to dissipate on this. As I look at the flute right here, you know, it's a little bit more concentrated on the nose here. I am getting that lemon and that strawberry, but I'm getting a brighter sense of the minerality that's there. So I'm getting a little bit of like river rock in there as well. A lot of those same characteristics. I think the minerality is a lot more showcased a lot more right here. I think on this guy, a little bit more of that red fruit is showing up, right? So on the palate, and by the way, very nice on both of those. There's a laser fine focus to the acidity and the bubbly mouthfeel of this sparkling wine from this glass right here. The citrus, the acidity is quite intense, but this creaminess is starting to come back. So the creaminess and the toastiness and the pastryness that we were kind of missing from the flute on the nose is really becoming apparent on the palate when we use this champagne flute. And for this guy, You know, the citrus is still there. It's not quite as razor sharp, though it is lasting, and the finish is present on both of those. The finish is really coming through quite, they're very similar, right? The citrus isn't quite as focused at the beginning. There is, you know, again, plenty of that essence of that like strawberry red fruit type of feel, type of taste. And there's a little bit of like some orange rind. There's a little bit of almost like baking spices. Like I'm almost thinking of like a mulled cider type of characteristic, but not like over the top. You know, it's not one of those things where it's like, you know, let's get some mulling spices and throw it in our wine and think that's a good idea, which it's not. But there are some aspects of those mulling spices. If you've ever had like a hot mulled wine or a hot mulled cider. I'm getting a little bit of that there. So, I mean, they're both really just highlighting different aspects of it. And honestly, when it comes to these different vessels that you would drink from, I don't necessarily know if you're missing out on one thing versus the other. I think really it just has to do with how you're feeling. Really, how do you feel about it? I think if you're going to be more festive, I think going with the flutes, especially if you have a whole set and you're sharing them with a bunch of people, you don't have to pour as much for everybody in these. And again, it is more festive with that. I think that's a way to go. I think, you know, if you're just pouring a nice big glass for yourself, why not just go with a nice big glass, right? You know, as far as this sparkling wine itself, very nice. You know, when I had just their entry-level Brut that was in like the $20 range, that one I gave an 87. It was very like one-dimensional. When I'm talking about this rosé right here, they really are taking it to a whole nother level. $37, and this is their high end. You know what I mean? That's what you get when you get out of the Champagne region of France and you start looking at other places that are making really quality sparkling wine from the same type of grapes in the exact same style, just from a different place. You don't have to pay that premium. $37, it's not anything to spit at. I mean, that's a nice chunk of change, but we're not talking about 50. We're not talking about 80. We're not talking about $100 plus. And sometimes, you know, you get the sense that you're just paying for the name. This one, you're just paying for some high quality juice. And for this right here, the difference in the elegance of this, the difference in the secondary and tertiary flavors that are showing up, it's definitely there. And so, whereas again, that Brut, I gave an 87, this rosé right here, 90 plus points. I mean, this is a really solidly awesome effort from Ferrari. Yeah. Now, again, this is a non-vintage sparkling wine, but I did see the disgorgement date right here, which was 2013. So, I mean, this was released this year. It was aged for a couple of years. And when we look at those non-vintage sparkling wines, it's really just showcasing the style of the house. I do have another wine from them. It's a vintage one. So then we can start to look at, you know, the impact of the different years and the different seasons on that. But I mean, totally solid, awesome quality wine. When's the last time you had a legit sparkling rosé from Italy? Yeah, sorry it took so long on that. I don't know. Leave a message. Let me know what you think. Everybody, stay rad.
Stay rad. Wine blog. Stay rad. Wine blog. Stay rad. Wine blog. Stay rad. Wineblog.com.